It is game day, ladies and gentlemen, and today I am giving you the first impressions breakdown of MLB 21 The Show being played on the Xbox Series X. That episode is right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I'm Matt. Welcome to Assemble. It's a great day on the internet. I'm happy to have you. Good to see all your smiling faces, and it is game day, ladies and gentlemen. MLB The Show 21 is here. It is available on Xbox Game Pass as well over on the PlayStation platform too. I've had the game now for about a day and a half, let's say. And I gotta give a shout out to the team over at Xbox for providing a code for the show for us to be able to play it a little bit early to give you this hands-on impressions and demos. So thank you everybody over at Xbox for supporting the show. Now, speaking of the show, MLB The Show, and this is number one, a very, very monumental time if you are an MLB fan and a show fan for previous years, as I have been playing on the PlayStation side exclusively. For the first time ever, I've been able to play it on my Series X on the Xbox platform. Gotta tell you, a little weird. It's weird because I just got a different controller and I'm not used to just playing it on Xbox, but it's great. Today is just to give you a little bit of the first impressions overall of the game before we give you the full in-depth review. So let's get into our overall impressions. So first thing I want to say is, am I enjoying MLB The Show overall? Yes. Yes, I am. Because I took a year off personally from playing the show. I kind of felt like the series hadn't been innovating on itself for a little bit of a few years now, and I felt like this was a great opportunity to jump in, especially being on the Xbox side and seeing how it was going to be optimized. Turning MLB The Show on for the first time, I was really impressed with the overall UI design and kind of redesign that they have gone with. It's very in-depth. But at the same time, it doesn't feel overly complicated. I don't feel like I am puzzled as to what I am doing, where I'm going. I love that we have full rebranded UI that is colorful, engaging, that can go through some of the highlights right in front of you as you turn on the game for all of the new updates and things you need to know about the game. And you can then scroll further down to be able to see all of the different game modes that we have in the show, whether you want to play online, exhibition, if you want to be able to go through franchise, Diamond Dynasty, March for October, and so on. This is really, really good. I just like how clean it is, but again, engaging UI, it makes a difference where you don't feel lost. In some sports franchises, I feel like I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be going and navigating towards, and everything is within sub-menus too. I've never been a big fan of that, and I like how the team over at the show have been doing this and made it a simplified, clean experience for gamers and new players that are coming over on the Xbox side. One thing I wanted to pay attention to was going to be load times. Very, very happy and very impressed with the load times so far. In previous years on the PlayStation side, and looking at the PlayStation 4, I always found that sometimes loading between games, loading up an exhibition game, took quite a while. And that's very much just the nature of the beast at the time. Loading a giant game like that can take time. Happy to say that my experience so far is that loading up a standard exhibition game took approximately 8 seconds to load the game, going from starting the game to the loading screen and then getting into the actual game starting was about 8 seconds. When loading up exhibition or going for, March for October, and the load times are anywhere from 8 to 10 seconds for getting into the gameplay itself, this is a huge win because across different games, you have different experiences. Playing on my Series X, I expected kind of optimized timing and for it to go as fast as possible of what the machine can offer. So I was really, really happy because it gets you into the game right away. You get right onto the field and I can start playing. It's nice when it is added in with the different game modes, when you're able to go for more of an arcadey fast play or going into simulation like I usually enjoy, but going for a full ball game, sometimes you want to go into a fast play and you don't want to be plagued by long load times of 30, 40 seconds, a minute long. So kudos to the show for actually getting the game out and having really, really quick load times when you're playing, at least on the Series X. Graphics are good. I wouldn't say that I was absolutely blown away by the character models in the show this year. Some of the hair physics were average. They weren't really updated that much. Character models and their faces, yes, there were some tweaks to some of the players that I have looked at, but I didn't feel like they were overhauled to a great degree where I felt like the detail was next level. It felt very much average in that they didn't put a ton of time and resources into the player models in terms of their actual visuals. But where I do notice some of the good updates is going to be in terms of like the crowds. I like the lighting mechanics that they use. They're able to take advantage a little bit of next-gen hardware in this regard. Getting 4K and 60 frames per second in the ball game is also really, really awesome. I like to be able to experience the show as crisp as I possibly can. And again, one of the things that I would pay attention to is looking at the stadiums, the detail in the stadiums, and how accurate they are, which is something that the team at Sony always did so well, was trying to make it as true to life to real baseball simulation as possible. Getting new crowds, bigger crowds, and when you get a big pan pulled back of the actual stadium, it looks and feels very lively, and it doesn't feel like I have just a lot of the same animations all the way around the stadium. Even things where there's like a little bit more depth of field from focusing on the batter and not focusing as much on the background of the actual fans in the stands, I like that they've done a little bit here and there. And they tweak some of the actual cameras too, which is great. The thing that I always compliment the show is that giving us the access to having like just a wide spread of options to be able to customizing your sliders, customizing your views all the way across from batting to pitching, every little kind of detail that you want to be able to adjust, how you want to actually attack hitting in the game to pitching dynamics. If you want to go for an analog mode versus being able to just actually hit the buttons on your controller, like hit the A button, throw a pitch in the meters, there's always so many options with the show. This can actually throw a lot of players off if they're not used to this mechanic. If you are new, because if you're playing on the Xbox side, you may not have ever played the show before and you've been wanting to dabble into it. What I would recommend is starting on lower difficulties, getting your feet wet with it, and play around with a lot of the settings when it comes to the sliders, because you could actually upgrade a lot of sliders for hitting, so you can start get some dingers out there nice and early. But I would also suggest that you look at all of the different pitching mechanics and batting mechanics, because there's some stuff in there that will actually help you be a better batter overall in the early stages of the game, and then keep tweaking as you go. This is one of the big things that's always been there in the show year after year, and I'm glad it's still here. Other key ones I don't want to touch on right now that I've just started to get into are Road to the Show, March for October, Diamond Dynasty as well. These modes are back from previous years, and they are welcome with the franchise mode as well. They are welcome modes within the game. They've always done a great job. One of the standout things that I would say is going to actually be that Diamond Dynasty mode. I love the amount of depth and detail that is put into this, being able to collect points, being able to unlock cards, player packs. Like, they put so much effort into this, and it doesn't feel like I am just being tricked into microtransactions or anything. I like being able to be rewarded through the game, the way they have set this up. It feels good, it's intuitive, and it's not overbearing, and it's not in your face that you have to participate in it. But I also like to be able to unlock those player packs and being able to access and see which cards I get and build up my dynasty that way. Road to the Show is back, and it's got a few more updates to it. It does feel a little bit more fluid. There's a little bit, it's faster, I would say, is probably the biggest thing, is that it seems to load a lot better, in my opinion, than it has in previous years. I don't want to get too much into Road to the Show because it is an entire series on its own, and I'm just getting started with it. But overall, I like how it is playing the mechanics. It's very familiar. Not a ton has been adjusted here, but it's still a welcome mode where they have made a few little updates to make Road to the Show a little bit better, giving you a little bit more control. Being able to update your character and be your player and being able to play them across different modes is also a big, big win. March to October, I like. I didn't play last year's game, and I've already jumped into March to October. This is really nice because it is giving you a fast-paced version of your franchise mode, broken down, shrunken down, and going through key highlight games and matchups and innings for you to be able to play going through March to October. You start off at the beginning of the season, and as you make your way through October, you don't have to go through and slugging it out with actually going through every single game. They do a good job of trying to make it almost feel like a story and getting you a little bit of a story mode if you want to play as the Yankees or Boston or Toronto and you want to be able to go through with your team, getting all the way to October. I like how they introduce it with some vignettes. Again, good touch of detail here, and it makes you want to be able to play into a different game mode. Jumping in as New York, for example, and starting off my March to October, I was already greeted with great vignettes to open things up. You're getting the first game opening day of the season, and I'm starting off in the 6th inning when there's key moments and key plays happening. That's what I like, because I can go through a traditional franchise mode and play it out the way I want to, and managing my team and so on, and everything, all the little details and contracts. I can do that in another mode. March to October is a great welcomed addition, and I'm glad it made its return for this year. Now, the last key thing that is updated that is brand new here is Stadium Creator. I dabbled into Stadium Creator, and I gotta tell you, wow, I'm impressed with the way this thing has been handled and the way it's rolled out. This does not feel like a cheap little mode. This thing is fun. We've never been able to create custom stadiums in the show before. So this is huge for players that have been with the franchise forever on the Sony side. Experiencing it for the first time here, the amount of customization is awesome. They let you adjust everything from the dirt to the field to having full templates that are already pre-built in there, adjusting the heights of the walls. There's content everywhere. There's amazing creators out there that are doing all of these custom creator stadiums and showing them off. Go check out creators who online that are posting all of these amazing stadiums, because some of the designs out there are fun, are crazy. Some creators and some guys have like 400 feet for right field, and they shrunken down left field corners, and they've adjusted center field to go really, really shallow or really, really deep. You've got freeways going on. You have stadiums that are like in universities and surroundings. You got other ones that are in the canyons. I love how much detail was put into this, and being able to jump into an easy mode, or you can go into more professional and fine tune the details. It's a welcomed addition. I love the idea behind this. You can actually update and change existing stadiums and put them in to all the stadiums for these different teams across all the MLB teams. And it's really, really in depth. I love Create a Stadium so far. I'd love to see what they do if they want to update it further. What would be cool over the next year is if they add more stadium templates and things like that, or being able to showcase off a lot of the creators out there that have created these custom stadiums, because some are stupid and goofy and some are really well put together. What are some of the negatives that I would say when it comes to the show so far from my early impressions? I would say that the graphical updates from previous years is a little disappointing. I was hoping to see a much bigger splash when it came to the character models and player models going into this year, especially being on the Series X that I'm playing on. I appreciate that we have better lighting dynamics, but I did notice that even as I was starting my first couple of games, I was getting little bits of screen tearing when it was coming into their jerseys with the pitchers on the mound. Things like that will obviously be updated through patches, and that's great because they always support the show really well online by giving us continuous patches and updates, bugs, fixes, things like that. Haven't come across any huge glaring bugs yet, but anytime they do a sports game like this, they're always updating it, always patching it, and it's got really great support behind it. But the graphics and the enhancements there are a little lackluster because I wish that we would have had something a little bit better. Not a huge disappointment, but for next gen, would have loved to have seen it been taken up a little bit more. Getting Matt Vasgersian and Mark DeRosa and Don Plesac in there in the booth for commentary is very, very familiar. But the downside of having this is that we're hearing the similar commentary that has been used and the lines that have been used in previous games over the last couple of years. So it doesn't feel like you're getting this huge overhaul when it comes to the commentary booth. Some of the calls are behind. So it feels a little bit dated. It feels a little bit old and long in the tooth, where they could have updated a little bit more when it came to the commentary team. I understand that they record thousands and thousands of lines of dialogue across the board, and it does make you feel like you are a part of the game. I do wish that they updated this a little bit more because it felt a little bit outdated, like I was playing in previous years in terms of the commentary. So, ladies and gentlemen, as it's game day, as we are getting started with MLB The Show 21, do I recommend it, and do I recommend you jumping in? Yes. If not for the only reason that if you are an Xbox player, you are getting it on Game Pass for no extra charge, as it is part of your subscription. Would I try it out if you were a first-time player? 100%. It's a well-polished baseball game. If you're a casual baseball fan, if you are a lover of the game, if you've played the games for years on the Sony side, or you've been in the Xbox ecosystem forever and have always kind of wished you could play that game, 100%, you should totally be picking up if it's on the Xbox side. But speaking from playing it on my Series X, 100%, it's worth picking up on any platform across the board. It's definitely a great experience and a great time overall. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here on Assemble. I'm Matt. Thank you for watching our early impressions and our first impressions of MLB 21, The Show. I'm excited to get back out there and play this a little bit more. Anytime that I can hear that intro music playing, I always know that it's baseball season. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always, thank you all for assembling with us. See ya.